At 2:17 a.m., Cindy Anderson was still awake. She just couldn't sleep. Her mind refused to slow down. Her thoughts raced in every direction. Her heart pounded so loudly, it felt like it might escape her chest. She turned from side to side, then, finally, lay still, staring at the ceiling. Beside her phone lit up the darkness. 2 emails, still open, beckoning her attention again. She had read them earlier. Reading them again would not make the decision any easier. Those 2 emails were the reason she couldn't sleep. 11 months earlier, Cindy had lost her job. Her life unraveled faster than she ever imagined it could. The layoff came suddenly, no warning, no soft landing. Just a short meeting, a rehearsed apology, and a cardboard box. At first, she told herself, this was temporary, just a slight setback, something she would bounce back from quickly. She was confident, she had experience, her resume was impeccable. She applied for jobs immediately, convinced she would be back on her feet within a month. But 1 month became 3. 3 became 6. 6 quietly turned into 11. Applications turned into interviews. Interviews turned into silence. Silence turned into rejection. Her savings chipped away quietly. Groceries became calculations. Bills became negotiations. And her credit card balance, the one she promised herself she would never rely on, was now carrying more weight than it ever had before. She wasn't just tired. She was running out of room. For 11 months, she gave everything she had. All Cindy wanted was one opportunity. Just one. And now, finally, there were 2. Yet somehow relief had turned into pressure. This blessing had opened the door to a question she was not ready to answer. On the surface, Cindy's life didn't look broken. She had a relationship. She had support. She had people cheering for her. She had been dating Daniel for almost 2 years. He was a good man, a stable man, a man with a solid career. Her family adored him. Her friends approved. Everyone thought they were perfect together. And that made everything harder. Because nothing was wrong enough to leave. There was no chaos, no screaming, no dramatic fights. Just quiet exhaustion. Conversations that went nowhere. Support that felt conditional. Promises that only appeared after repeated reminders. When Cindy talked about fear, Daniel minimized it. When she needed reassurance, he grew quiet. It was like an itch she could not scratch. Always there. Impossible to explain. Impossible to ignore. She stayed because she had already gone too far. Daniel was deeply embedded in her life. Her parents saw him as family. Leaving would raise questions she did not know how to answer. And staying, even when painful, felt safer than starting over. That is what she told herself. But deep down, Cindy knew something was missing. She felt stuck, shrinking, disconnected from the version of herself she used to recognize. And now, with 2 job offers staring back at her, that quiet dissatisfaction had nowhere left to hide. The first offer came from Baltimore. Higher pay, immediate start, same city, same routines. Stability. The kind that quiets fear. The second offer came from Austin, Texas. Slightly less pay, smaller team, but a leadership track, a fresh start, relocation support. And something else Cindy could not ignore. Distance. Distance from survival mode. Distance from the relationship. Distance from the version of herself that had been shrinking. Suddenly, the fear shifted. She was no longer afraid of unemployment. She was afraid of choosing wrong. Baltimore felt familiar, comfortable, predictable. Austin felt terrifying, lonely, uncertain. But it also felt alive. Have you ever stood at a crossroads like this? If Cindy's story feels familiar, you are not alone. If you have ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, or afraid of choosing wrong, you might be standing at a crossroads too. Stay with this story, because what Cindy did next changed everything. Everyone had opinions. Family and friends gave her what appeared as sound advice. Take the higher pay. Be practical. Do not gamble now. These all sounded like the right answer. But at night, Cindy lay awake, replaying both futures again and again. The fear grew heavier as the night wore on. She knew she had to choose between coping or becoming. And somewhere in the middle of the pain, the questions, and the quiet exhaustion, she finally fell asleep. The next morning, Cindy woke up exhausted, still afraid, still unsure. But something was different. Her mind had stopped arguing, and in the quiet, one truth prevailed. Which choice helps me grow, and which one is just helping me survive? The Baltimore job was not exciting her. It was calming her panic. The Austin job was not safe. It was honest. She was not choosing between two offers. She was choosing herself. With shaky fingers, Cindy picked up her phone. She typed replies to both emails. Afraid, certain, terrified. She knew whatever happened next would change her life forever. Then came the harder part, telling her family, ending the relationship, facing the unknown, and choosing courage. Anyway, Cindy chose Austin. She summoned the courage to have a truthful conversation with Daniel. She packed her apartment, said goodbye to routines that no longer fit. In Austin, she found an apartment, not as big as the one she left behind, but cozy enough to finally settle in. The first 2 months were quiet, lonely, uncomfortable. There were nights she questioned herself, mornings she wanted reassurance, days she wanted to pack up and return to what felt familiar. But slowly, things began to shift. When she allowed herself to live in the moment, her nervous system settled, her confidence returned, her energy came back. She was not just working again, she was breathing. At work, her performance stood out, not because she tried harder, but because she was no longer exhausted. She was seen, trusted, recognized, invited to lead. 3 months later, she was asked to represent her company at a national leadership conference in San Diego. A dream she never believed she deserved. And somewhere between meetings and quiet coffee breaks, she met Marcus, a kind man who recognized her depth and spoke the language of her heart. There was no confusion, no shrinking, no acting to fit a mold. For the first time, she had found her kind. For the first time, she felt understood. For the first time in years, Cindy did not have to prove herself to be chosen. Life did not become perfect, but it became lighter. She trusted herself again, slept better, thought clearer, stood taller. The version of her that once felt invisible was finally taking up space. Cindy learned something life-changing. Fear does not always mean danger. Sometimes fear is a signal that this choice will demand changes. That would require you to grow. The right decision is not always the one that pays more or keeps you comfortable or earns approval. The best gifts are not always wrapped in shining packages. Sometimes, it is the one that doesn't look like it, that gives you your life back. If you are standing at a crossroad, if change feels terrifying, if comfort is tempting and growth feels expensive, ask yourself, is this choice going to help me grow or help me hide? If stories like this help you find clarity, subscribe to Wait, Let's Talk for more.